a bona lorno ba tlile ka mara lefelo la le le nang le tolamo a place of a dignity, of repute. So equally we are going to request the same of all of you. When you are in the legislature, we don't do that. Our process, and I want to quickly explain our process, how it's going to work, is that we have got several petitions. The petitions, I'm not sure in Zulu, what is petitions? What is petitions? It's Carlo. Again. So we've got several petitions. There are some of these petitions, they come from Etwa. Others, they come from Equatema. Others may be coming from Tsakani, Duduza, and so on. But we chose Etwa. Rare, you don't get to hear often a visit to Etwa. So we're choosing this place. But not necessarily that they were only going to deal with matters. So Etwa is essentially the meeting place. And so we would want to explain it like that, so that nobody is confused around why is it that we would have petitions. It's because these people wrote to us. And so their petitions will also be had this morning here.
Yeah, I heard about it. But
and so our program is really focused on those petitions. It flows from those petitions. And I want to explain something which usually would be confused. So we are not the government of Ikuruleni. We don't come from Ikuruleni. We are neither officials of Ikuruleni or a city of Ikuruleni at all. Provincial government, we don't. There's a separation of power. I get it separated like this. Only executive, loosely, revisa government, provincial government. And then legislature, loosely, revisa parliament, Amara province. I get it. And then at a national level, only judiciary. At the level of the province are not the court. I get it. The court gets a go national. So there's a separation of these two functions. Government, the legislature. The role of the legislature is to hold government accountable on their service delivery commitments, or policy commitments. So, that part. Now, when you go to local government, that is where we are. The same thing applies. Again, you will have what they call council, municipal council, which is made up of ward councillors as well as PR councillors. Baba elected again, elected to represent you in the municipal council. And then when you go beyond, only departments of the municipality, which are headed by members of the mayoral committee, MMCs. MMCs. So you have got MMCs. The municipal council, made up of councillors. What is happening? Yeah. So the municipal council plays oversight over the municipal departments. So it's the same thing with us. So when we are here, we are not here because Imbizo. This is not an Imbizo. Again, this is not a IDP lekgotla, we're here simply to listen to petitions. I get it. But then we invited some of you, even those that may not have written petitions, so that you come and observe the process. So that tomorrow, when you want to raise a petition, you can do that. And the reason why we encourage our communities to write petitions is because you have got this committee in the legislature that must work for you. We're from different political parties. We're from the ANC, we're from the DA, we're from the EFF, and so on and so forth. I get it. So we must work for you because we're elected by yourselves. Re-elected like a man alone. I get it. So, Swansere berekelle man alone, Swansere berekelle lona. I get it. So this morning we want to do exactly that. And that is why we've invited government. Well, we are technically also government, if you take it as a whole. But the departments or the municipality, they are here. I get it? To come and give us responses on some of the petitions, or rather, the petitions that we are going to look at. I get it? Then during proceedings, there might be some of you who may be tempted to raise questions, or hey, I want to understand this and that. Ordinarily, we allow for the process to be concluded first. And only when the process has been concluded will we take few hands for clarity, questions or comments and so on. I get it? So that is how we're going to run our meeting throughout the day. So I want us to quickly do the introductions. So I'll stand. I got standing is a sign of a respect. So naga libitso ke nna Ezra Letswalo. Ke nna modula stulo wa komite shebaneng le ditletlebo izikhalo. Again, but our committee not only deals with complaints, but it's also a planning tool, because through this committee, we are able to detect, or in the manner in which governments or municipalities plan, what are some of the fault lines. Then we can advise, go and fix it. So that is our role as this committee. So again, now Ezra Letswalo, I'll go to my left and then my right.
Kenna King Sol Chabalala, ke leloko la committee.
Dumelang, ke nna Khomotso le leloko la committee.
Dumelang, Imalisara Ledwaba, member of the committee.
Good morning. My name is Greg Schneeman. I'm a member of this committee.
Dumelang, ke nna Kgopelo Ollo, ke mo councilor mo Ikuruleni ebile ke le modula stulo wa Public Participation and Petitions Committee.
Dumelang, nna ke Petros Mabunda, member ya Petitions Committee.
Dumelang, ke Jeremy Mana, Ward Councillor 67.
And then Arafelel again. So I go to look at that all over Fellow, Kimu Councillor alone again. Lamiz again. All right, wonderful. And then unalentate hollo le mutluila again. Ke modulo stulo wa di petition ini kurle. Again. Then where is our ward councillors? Other ward councillors? Okay. I thought maybe there might be other ward councillors. And then amongst us, we might also have a community development workers. Are they here? Or community health workers. We don't want to leave out anyone. Again. Okay. I hope I'm not leaving out anyone. If that is the case, let so that we properly acknowledge all of you. And then I'm not going to introduce officials now. We'll introduce them when we deal with each of the petitions. Again, safe to say that they are here. And then we'll do those introductions when we deal with those petitions. Just quickly, again, the booth. The chambers, ke di translator ona le di mic tse di so wa ke la di bona ne ke tsa translation di na le di station if ona lo re ha ke bua Setswana motho a utlwe ha o batla English it will be on channel 1 again if o batla o utlwa ka Seburu ka Afrikaans it will be on channel 2. Ke sa itse gore rona le motho a buang Afrikaans mo o na lo a buang Afrikaans ora ba batlang Sesotho Sepedi or Setswana on channel 3 again and then ba batlang ka isiZulu Xhosa or isiNdebele channel 4 ba batlang ka Tshivenda Xitsonga channel 5 again so ba loren le batla translation le tla emisa fela matsogo again and then batla le bona go mora ba tlo le tlisetsa di micro ba re ke eng tshotse di headphones again and then batla le thusa gore ne le tsena ba mo ba re ke mo channeleng ele batlang because a re batlo re bua re le tlwala go morao ke itse Zulu mara Zulu saka a se nga se buang le lona formal ne ke se le sa re ntse fela re lebeletse match Pirates le Sundowns lo ja Pirates again ke Zulu se so a ke batlo re o kere ke le tshusitse ka so I'm going to stick with a language that I know again but for commonality we'll use English more again. I know it might not be ideal, but we'll try to balance it out during the course of the day. So we really want to start. So process are on because requires the petition, and the only way you can be heard in the legislature, it's if you've written to us. Again, our people must embark on protests. We really want to avoid that. So the Petitions Committee must work for you so that when you have an issue, school or clinic, you simply write a letter to us. And Runari Grayle Rata, Rao confirm or no Grayle letter. Remit to the relevant department, they must give us answers. If that department does not respond to us, we have got powers to summon that department. Again, we are given powers by the Petitions Act. So we are the most unique committee in the whole of the legislature. Renaldi powers tsa o bitsa premier, renaldi powers tsa o bitsa mayor, renaldi powers tsa o bitsa MMC, renaldi powers tsa o bitsa MEC. We can even call the city manager. We can even call an HOD. So renale matla to resolve your petitions. So our process will be as follows. We are going to call. Which one are we starting with? there might be a slight, there might be a slight change to the flow of petitions that we'll deal with. Agar le na le ona ntshwa ke e bontshang di petitions tse re di kry-ileng. Ro starta ka number 5. And the reason why we start at number 5 is because number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, they are not here yet. Eh? Or we start at number 6. No, but they are here. They are saying they are now here. They are saying they are, eh? Okay. So if they are here, it's okay. We are going to start with number 1. Earlier on, when we checked, we were told you had not arrived as yet. Again. So we are going to start with number 1, request for a new primary and secondary school. Again. So, bagay batho ba teng. Ke ena ke bona. Ntate Manqoba Sarila adult. Sarila adult. Kwena Sarila adult. You don't look like Sarila adult. Mofa mae ke mole. You don't look like Manqoba, neither do you look like Sarila adult. Who are you?
I'm Manqoba Frank Sarila.
I suspected you are.
Manqoba Frank, not Dunk.
Okay, come and join us here in the front. Okay. No, I suspected that you might be Sarila adult, but I was not too sure. But you are a councillor, isn't it? Are you not a councillor?
I'm not a councillor, I'm the former.
Oh, you are the former councillor?
Yeah, I'm now the former.
Oh, wonderful.
But by the time I wrote that petition, I was the councillor.
Okay. So we're going to... And then do we have anybody representing the Department of Education? Okay, wonderful. So we're going to present the summary. I don't want too much movement and noise. So we're going to present the summary of the petition. Social club. Social club. We don't want copy dice. So we're going to present the summary of the petition. Then we are going to confirm its content, whether I want to see anything or nothing was distorted. Once you confirm, we then go to the department, we request them, or refer a response to your petition. And then the committee will also deliberate. Again, come up with a way forward, we close it off. Again, la yuka process around. So that is how we're going to move. I know in between, Baba Mbatonyo would say the question, like I said, only at the end. I can remember really the decorum or the order of the legislature will be the case here. You remember we said that. Again. So, I start.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Ndimacheloni, once again. The first petition is request for a new primary school, primary and secondary school at Twatwa, registration number PP42A0618ED. The petitioner is Councillor Manqoba Sarila, an adult male who resides at 27950 Maseru Street, extension 37, at Twatwa, submitting this petition on behalf of the committee, who states that after the meeting held on the 24th of February 2018 with the community, it was resolved that the ward committee, together with the councillor, to petition the Department of Education to build the schools within the ward. He alleges that learners travel more than 6 kilometers and there is no scholar transport. Chair, the petition was tabled for consideration before the committee and it was further adopted. Subsequent to that, it was then referred to the Department of Education for investigation and reporting on the 30th of July 2018. Chair, we are expecting a progress report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are you going under the man over so? Oh, Sarela, man. So there was that thing. Because I was saying Sarela Dalt and I was confused. Say name Sarela Dalt. Okay, so that is the summary of the petition. Can you confirm its content to be a true reflection of what you will have raised with us?
Thank you very much, Program Director. The content is correct.
Okay, so thank you very much. Let's get the department. I must just indicate something before the department comes. So that I know ordinarily when we deal with petitions, people think Petitions Committee offers magical solutions. Doesn't do that. Again, government functions according to systems and processes. Somebody may wake up and say, we want the clinic. Again, it has got to be planned, it has got to be budgeted for, or there might be another clinic closer, you know? So we deal with petitions on the basis of what is reasonable as raised in the petition. Again, so I thought I'd clarify that point. So who is there from the department? Can we do the introductions quickly?
Hello. Good morning, Chairperson and honourable members and the petitioner and to all of the people in attendance today. I'm Peter Swanepoel. I'm the Director for Infrastructure Planning and Property Management at the Gauteng Department of Education. And I'm joined by two colleagues from the district, if I can allow them to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alex Kunene. I'm a second manager responsible for schools around the Twatwa and Davidson. Alex Kunene. Kunene.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm Simpiwe Kanyile. I'm the infrastructure planner at the level of the district. I report to Mr. Swanepoel as my director. Simpiwe Kanyile from Gauteng East District.
So thank you very much. Maybe you can already engage with this petition.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I'll go through the response provided by ourselves as the department. So in this instance, the department has identified a ERF 31185 for the construction of a replacement school. There is an existing school, Umyezani Primary School, which was originally a farm school, but at the moment it serves a much larger community than only the farms in the surrounding area. So we've been meaning to replace Umyezani Primary School for a while. The site that was previously identified, the 31185, unfortunately, we were able to get an agreement from the Ekurhuleni municipality for the Gauteng Department of Education to use the site. But unfortunately, it was occupied before we were successful in construction on that site. So because of the occupation of the site, it did delay the process that we were hoping to go through. So there were 3 other sites that were identified by the municipality. We have gone through those sites. Unfortunately, none of them are really suitable for occupation. That is the 3 sites that were listed in the previous response. However, we have continued to negotiate with the Ekurhuleni Metro, and we have identified a specific site called R31186, which is actually just next to the previous site that we identified. And there is an agreement between Ekurhuleni Metro and ourselves that we can construct the replacement school on that site. Unfortunately, it's quite a big site. So there's a lot of work that needs to go through in terms of the subdivision of that site and then transferring it to the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development, who is our custodian of all property-related matters. So at this point in time, the negotiations between Ekurhuleni and GDID is currently underway. There's a transfer agreement that we are entering into between DID and Ekurhuleni Metro. It's currently, the MOU has been drafted, and that is the Memorandum of Understanding between the Metro and the Infrastructure Development Department. And it's currently with the legal department of the Metro. So the moment that is concluded, that will then allow for the properties to be transferred from the Metro to the provincial government. And it's at that stage then that we can proceed with the construction project on that site. So that is the confirmed plan from the Gauteng Department of Education, is to build the replacement school of Umyezane. So it will move a little bit closer to the area that the petitioner listed, and it will then serve a bigger community. When we are constructing the schools, the replacement school, we will also ensure that there's an increased number of classrooms that we provide, so that it serves a bigger purpose for a longer period of time, and it would be more successful long-term than to build another new school in the area. So that is the confirmed plans. We understand that there is a lot of need in the area. It is a growing area. The enrollment numbers are continuously increasing. So in all likelihood, there would be a need for another new primary school and secondary school in the area. But at this point in time, the Umyezane replacement school is the confirmed project that we will proceed with. There's also the Barcelona Primary School that is also in the works for replacement, which is a full mobile school. It's also fairly close in the vicinity, and that is currently with the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development as our implementing agent, and they are busy with the procurement process. Unfortunately, it was delayed during the past couple of months because of the moratorium that was placed on procurement from National Treasury. But now that the moratorium has been lifted, we are expecting for the tender to be advertised in the next month or two. After that advertisement has been concluded, the procurement process will then be finalized, and we expect that the construction would be started on site quite soon. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Ntate Manqoba, that is the response from the department on your request for the building of both a primary as well as a secondary school. So they explain the difficulties that they will have encountered. What is your view? Do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. I think I've been in a lot of meetings regarding this issue. So the report that I'm getting now, I'm not satisfied with this report. One, we had a meeting with the city planning, the department, Tatemaje was there, the Triple Ninja was there, and we resolved the issue of the occupation of stand 311851. And we agree. In that meeting, the department said, no, because the matter is already been resolved, then they are going to start fencing that space. So that's what I was expecting here. That what is the delay in terms of the fencing of that space so that we continue with the removal of Nyezane from Mkababa to extension 37. So really, I'm not satisfied. Now it's like we're starting afresh. The report to say there is another side and we are still going to look at the budget. The department assured me that they have the budget. So really, our community are in need for those schools. If you can visit that area during rain time, you will feel that pain because our children have to walk during the rain. They are getting wet with their books. It's so painful. So really, we need a report that will confirm really, even the time, when are you going to start? That's it.
Okay. So, members, that is the feedback from Ndate Mangoba. You will have also had the report. I'm not sure whether you have got any views. Member Chavalala, Member Shniman.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe if the department can respond on timelines, maybe that would inform our comments. Our comments. Maybe if they indicate timelines, the petitioner would be happy, so there will be no need for us to comment further. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Member Shniman.
Thanks, Chair. One acknowledges the report we've been given, but I'm also covered by the issue of timeframes. I think that's critically important. But over and above that, when I was listening to that presentation, it's clear there was land that had been earmarked for the secondary school at very least. And we're told that that land was invaded. So what I'd like to understand is, when was that land invaded? Was that land invaded before you'd even identified the land, or was it invaded after you'd identified the land? And if it was invaded after the land had been identified, why were measures not put in place to protect that land? Now you're telling us that you've now identified another piece of land next to the original piece of land. Have measures been put in place together with the municipality to ensure that while these other processes are being finalized, that land is safeguarded? Or are we possibly going to land up with another situation where the land will be invaded? I think that's important because if you've identified land, you must safeguard that land together with the municipality. So can we get an understanding about that and those assurances? I think for me, that's really the questions I have. Thanks, Chair.
Any you want to say? Okay.
No, thanks. I think Member Schneeman has covered in part what I wanted to say. That the community is within their right to expect delivery on the commitment made by the department. And agreeing with Member Schneeman on the commitment that the department has made by securing the land, although I understand that the land has been occupied, but I don't get an explanation or something that gives us an assurance that in the newly identified land, there will be reasonable measures taken to make sure that the reputation of what happened in the previous portion of land that was identified will not happen again. So it will continuously perpetuate the delay of the delivery of the service that the community is expecting. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Member Schneemann, once more follow-up.
No, sorry about that, Chair. There was another point that I wanted to raise, and that was listening to the petitioner. He's indicated that children have to walk long distances and very often in the rain, if I understood that correctly. Now, the department was telling us that they acknowledge that a school needs to be built in that area and it's been planned for a while. So what I think we just need to also understand what measures are the department taking place to ensure that children in that area are able to get to school safely and securely. Is it correct that children are having to walk long distances? And if it is, has the department looked into this? Are there any measures that can be put in place while these other processes take place towards the building of the school? What measures are being put in place to ensure that children are not having to walk these long distances which we're being told? If we could just get an indication that, because I think one of the critical things here is the safety of our children. We are hearing too many examples of children that are going missing at times, that are not safe, and that for me is a concern, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So those are the comments, inputs from the members. Kana ntate o rile ke mang? Kana I didn't quite get your surname.
Swanepoel.
Swanepoel, ntate Swanepoel. Okay. So the members will have essentially touched on critical issues. Provision of a scholar transport, preservation of that piece of land or site that might have been given to you. But I just wanted to find out, because your report also states that ordinarily the department, and I'm not sure your cycle of evaluation, I think you said annual, it would assess, infrastructure needs. And I'm not so sure whether there's any revelations about your assessment insofar as this area is concerned. And the reason why I'm raising it is that, one of the things that you have to contend with, which is an eminent and daily reality, is that there's an ever extension of, the geographical construct of areas due to these land invasions. So you might pass through N12, and you may find a site which is a clear-off. In the next month or two, you may find that it's inhabited, and you've got about 5,000 or more people staying in there. And the unfortunate thing is that you can't alienate basic services, including access to education and so on. So even against proper, city planning, you find that there's a mushrooming of these informal settlements. And so what I would have wanted to know is whether your assessment will have factored in that reality. Because seemingly what Ndate Mangoba seems to be raising is that, well, we are not necessarily raising this thing for the first time. So this was back in 2018. So you move from 2018 to where we are. You do an assessment of the current population size. So it might be that the issue around the primary school, I mean, you will have responded to that one. But there may be some pressure to even have a secondary school, you know, as against the reality of the day-to-day extension of the locality, you know. So I would have liked if you could also speak to that so that we don't miss it. Because we may easily assume that, you know what, we did an assessment prior to 2018. But what is the situation now? You know, is it still the situation? And against which reality? Because in reality, we know. I mean, I drove past here a couple of months back. There were certain segments of this area which were not there. Today, they are there. And so they create some more of a social pressures. So health facilities may be needed, schooling facilities, you know. So there may be a range of these social infrastructure that might be needed. So if maybe you can, in your response, also speak to that issue. But I must emphasize the issue around planning. You know. So what are your planning cycles? At a point when you resolve that, you know what, there has got to be a school, and we're all too mindful that you may not necessarily be directly building your own schools because you obviously have got, you know, an infrastructure agency in the form of a DID that would facilitate that process. But your planning processes, do they factor in some of the known challenges around the unlawful occupation of land, you know? Yeah, so maybe let's leave it at that, unless if there's any member who may want to still add. You are okay? Okay. So over to you, Ndate Swanepoel.
Thank you, Chairperson. If I may start at the last question, because that's really where our process starts as well in terms of the planning process and the planning cycle. We basically, on a continuous process, re-evaluate the situation on the ground. The one process is from the town planning application. So in all of the Gauteng province, when a developer would like to develop a specific area, they have to submit town planning applications to the municipality. At that stage, those submissions are then provided to the Gauteng Department of Education to comment on. So from head office at GDE, we kind of get a bird's eye view of where new developments are happening, and we have the opportunity to provide inputs as to whether we are in agreement with those developments or whether they are lacking in some regard. So in a lot of situations, we are prescribing that they should allocate specific sites for education so that we can have land available to build schools in those areas when they are developed. We also add as a condition that the GDE should have the first right of refusal, so that if the developer at any one point in time want to sell the property, they must first come to the education department to check whether we do not need the land ourselves, in which case we can then procure the land. However, that is it wasn't always done in the past, so it's now more for new developments going forward in which we have that opportunity. The other issue is that is mostly for formal township developments that are submitted. The issue of informal developments and illegal occupations that might take place at any one stage, that is obviously it's a need that is in the province, and that you can't predict ahead of time. So in that regard, we have, on an annual basis, we reassess the priorities that we have in the province, and we work directly with our physical resource planners in the district, as well as the circuit managers in the district, who would then identify the need simply from being on the ground and being aware of what areas are developing. So my colleagues to the right-hand side, they know from being present in the area, and we've got the same colleagues in all of the rest of the province, in each one of the districts, who are at any one stage then aware of what developments are happening. So on an annual basis, we then reproduce the priority list to see, of all of the identified needs that were there previously, is it still the situation, or do we now have to elevate some of the priorities above some of the other priorities? But Chairperson, it is true, we are on the back foot. It is just, in terms of the need and the continuous increase in learner enrollment number in Gauteng, which on the one hand is a good sign. It's a sign of confidence that so many people are moving to Gauteng. However, it does put tremendous pressures on the department to deliver schools. It's more than 40,000 learners that the average number increase on an annual basis, which the number of new schools that need to be provided, additional classrooms, is just, it's a mammoth task. And it's specifically for that reason why I cannot make confirmations necessarily or make promises for new schools in specific areas, because we can only commit to what we are 100% certain of in this case, because in 5 years' time, there might be different priorities that have been created. So after we have identified the priorities, the next step then is always to get a confirmation of needs in terms of how many classrooms do we require, what kind of facilities. That is also done in conjunction with our colleagues from the district. The next step then is the site issue, and that is unfortunately where a lot of our projects get stuck, is in the site issue. I've explained the process going forward with new developments that we are fairly on top of, but unfortunately, due to historic past and the way that government worked in the past, where it wasn't as confirmed in terms of the 3 spheres of government and who owns which properties, we are unfortunately in a situation at the moment where a lot of the sites even where existing schools are, and also where we want to build schools. So it might be zoned for education, it might be identified for the construction of the school, but it's not owned by the provincial government. And it is at that point where it then becomes a difficulty for us to procure those sites. And in terms of the fencing that was mentioned, that's also the difficult portion, because yes, we have to safeguard the site. The construction of a fence is one of those processes, but the construction of a fence around a massive site, it's millions of rands to construct the fence, and we cannot as provincial government necessarily construct that fence if it's not yet confirmed that we are the owner of the property, or at least that it is in the process of becoming our property. Unfortunately, we've also learned the hard way that just building a fence doesn't necessarily mean that you have then safeguarded a site. That it's actually over and above the fence, it also, in some instances, needs security to be appointed to safeguard that site. And the expenditure that goes along with that is just prohibitive in the sense for sites that's not confirmed as the provincial government. So that is why we are really putting a lot of emphasis in smoothing out the processes to acquire the properties. And we have to do it a lot sooner than when the school is actually needed. So in terms of Ekurhuleni, look, from Ekurhuleni Metro, they have been very helpful and assisting the provincial government in identifying the sites that we could potentially acquire. That is why this MOU is being drafted, so that it's not only this site, it's more than 50 sites that we have identified that would then become the Gauteng provincial government property if this exchange agreement goes through. And that would then assist with the implementation of projects going forward. So the other project that I mentioned, Barcelona, in that situation, the site issue is resolved. It's just the issue of the construction then that's holding up, but that is underway. It will be advertised in the next couple of months. But with Umyezane, unfortunately, we have to get the site issue resolved. Luckily, it seems like the occupation of the next door site has been resolved for the most, or has been halted to some extent. There is a portion of that site that is still open, and then the neighboring site that we have identified it really is a massive site. So from a risk point of view, in terms of the time frame available, we are fairly confident that the site would still be available for occupation the moment the transfer has been agreed. Just in terms of from the education point of view, obviously it's our mandate, it's our responsibility to provide education for all of the citizens in the province. So if a learner is not close enough to an existing school, we need to make sure that there's sufficient number of classrooms available to accommodate all of the learners in the province. If for whichever reason there's not a school within 5-kilometer radius, in that instance the department do provide scholar transport. So it is a long distance. 5 kilometers is not, I mean, there's no denying that it is a long distance, but at this point in time, the policy of what the education department can provide is scholar transport for all learners that need to travel a distance greater than 5 kilometers. Chair, I think that covers most of the issues.
All right. Ndate Kunen and Ndate Kanyisile, do you possibly want to add, or you are okay? If you are covered, it's okay.
No, Chair, we wanted to indicate some of the things as a point of emphasis. There is scholar transport that is taking learners from that area to J.S. Malaza Primary School, which is a school around extension 13, if I'm not mistaken. So we're trying to close that gap of a number of learners that are found in that vicinity, because when you go to the nearest school, which is your Slindoguhle, which is within 2-kilometer radius, it's overcrowded with 1,800 learners. You go to Barcelona, it's 1,009 learners. You go to Sazakele, which are schools in the 5-kilometer radius that Mr. Swanepoel is referring to. All of them are at 1,009, 1,008. So we had provided scholar transport to assist, noting what he has indicated, that there are plans to put more schools in the area to accommodate the growth that you mentioned. You asked a question that are we overtaken by events when there is this growth in terms of informal settlements? There was this specific question also, what is it that we are doing as a department? I think he touched on it. We are providing additional classrooms to schools. Schools are building additional, all schools closer to areas where there is overcrowding. They are given money to build classrooms to cover that. And one other thing that we need to mention, which we never shared with Mr. Swanepoel, when we built Slindoguhle some 5-6 years ago, one issue that we were faced with, because I'm at the operational level, is the issue of the proclamation of the area. That area has been built a long time ago, extension 37, but to date that area is not proclaimed. As a result, when we built Slindoguhle, we had to run a diesel engine for electricity because we could not connect electricity. We had no permission to occupy the site. We had to connect, let me not mention this other one of connecting illegal water. So those are the challenges that we are facing as education. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. So thank you very much. Ndate Kunene, you are okay? All right. So Ndate Mangoba, you are not responsive. Again. Those are, agar la utla re etsa bantsho ya di petition. Le gono utla. So the department says, well, there are plans, but the plans were hindered because there are people who they invaded land. ordinarily there would have been progress by now. But when there's an unlawful occupation of land, it undermines all these efforts. Because like I told you earlier on, government subjects everything it does to a process, to a system. Otherwise, the Lore government has squandered money, they've stolen, corruption, and so on. You see? So that is the response in Dr. Mangova. Do you have any last remarks?
Yes, I do.
Sure.
But I will try to be very short. Let me start by making a plea. When we respond, let's not respond like we have no will to do something. Let's not respond like that. I'm starting by that. Then I have a question about this school transport that they are providing. How many buses that are provided in that area? Because the children goes to different schools. So I want to know how many buses, because the population size of that area is too vast. Too vast, too big. Then in terms of the secondary school, if we are saying, no, there's nothing, there's no plan. Yes, we spoke about the primary. There are those plans that are going on. But in terms of the secondary, there is not even a single secondary in that ward, in Ward 26. They have to travel to Davidson, to this side of Mapupini for school, and there's no school transport provided for this kid. So really, let's show that you are willing. If the department was saying, no, we are going to investigate and check the need, at least we'll come back to you. It was something else than to say, no, we have no plan, there's nothing at the moment. That's why I've started with my remarks. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so thank you very much. So essentially, what in that they, except for that question, essentially what in that the Mangoba is saying is that, well, we recognize the efforts at the, the primary school. The one thing that remains is this one of the secondary school. So I want us to resolve as follows. So let's maybe go back that this one relook the issue of the secondary school. Primarily because it would appear, and of course I can't even substantiate, it would appear that there's a greater demand for a school within the environs of, the area you mentioned. Is it extension 37? So that you don't have a situation, because it might not necessarily be an ideal situation for schools, for learners to always have to travel, So this is despite the fact that you might be providing scholar transport. But then the other thing that comes up is that there might also be insufficiency of buses. I'm not sure whether you will have a response to that quickly. Around the provision of buses, whether they are sufficient and so on. And then we should be able to follow up on the thought process of the department insofar as the secondary school is concerned, including the current site that you will have now agreed with the municipality that you may possibly have that primary school being relocated to. So those are some of, the two things that we would still have to follow up on. So what we'll expect is a regular updates on where, there's movement towards actualizing on that commitment. Because there is pressure, you can see it. There's really pressure. You can imagine when it rains, you can imagine the strain of learners having to travel far out, having to come back late. You know, it may not necessarily be a suitable situation. It might have been intended to be a transient arrangement, but it can't be one that is a permanent, you know. So we're suggesting that the department goes back, reapplies themselves to whether in their own assessment now, a recent assessment, because it could be that, I mean, when you dealt with your annual assessments, you might have missed some of the points that are now coming out, you know, about the actuality of the pressure from this community, given the ever expansion of the area. So we acknowledge at least that the department has been able to commit themselves, and they've started a process, and there is progress on the issue of bargain that school. Yeah, there is movement there, but it doesn't necessarily address the issue of the secondary school. So we're now requesting them to go back, apply themselves as to whether in their future plans they can factor in, you know, the building of a secondary. We're not necessarily saying tomorrow. Department plans based on the availability of resources. Everything is planned for. So if you tomorrow you say we want the clinic, you must know that it must be a subject of a plan. It might not necessarily be delivered tomorrow, next month, next year. It might be in the outer years, isn't it? So we're requesting them to go back, engage with whichever relevant, you know, parties within the department to apply themselves on the need for a secondary school. If it's something that can be, you know, delivered within a reasonable amount of time, so will that be the case, isn't it? But we want to constantly monitor and track, and that is why we wanted that update. Again, so can we agree on the updates? How regular can we receive the updates? Intervals, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, intervals, just on the issue of the secondary school.
Chairperson, yeah, 6 months would be...
6 months.
Yeah.
You know why we're saying that? Let me tell you why we're saying that. You see, already budgets have been approved of departments. Budgets. Even if you wanted a school, so long as it has not been budgeted for, somebody's going to lie to you. And so, seated here, we are all too familiar with the budgetary cycles of the department, including their planning stages. So where we are, we know that budgets have already been approved. So they must commence a process of building up a motivation for the building of a school here. And that too would need to be budgeted for. So I'm not sure whether it might happen in the medium term or in the next financial year that you begin to thresh out the details around whether it would be feasible for that school to be built. Again, we are not saying it's going to be built. We are saying the department must go back, apply themselves, and they must update us within 6 months. 6 months may seem a long time, but we don't want them to lie. Report. So we're giving them ample time so that they do proper studies, proper assessment, such that by the time that they come to us, they are not coming up with a problem, but they are coming up with a solution. You see? Maybe let's agree on the 6 months, but the intermediate time to give us just an update would be 3 months. Is that workable? So we'll still agree on the 6 months, but within the next 3 months, they give us a status report on whether they've started that process. And then in the other 3 months, they give us a full report of whether the school can be delivered. If so, when? What are the timelines? And then we can take it from there. Can we agree on that? Okay. So thank you very much. Maybe let's step off this one. We'll follow it. Again? Yes.
Before
Okay.
Chair, before they leave,
Sure.
maybe we may need to register our frustration and how to shoot around in the response that we receive from the department. The one that we have is not signed. And I thought you will talk to that so that next time it doesn't happen again. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. So maybe let's just formalize the issue of the report so that we get a signed off a report. Because this report is a statement of commitment. Again, so that we don't just have a report which nobody takes accountability for. Because we may pull up that report at some point just to reference what you will have previously stated. So I think we should be able to do that. Ordinarily, the HOD would sign off on reports that comes to the committee. So maybe let's stick with that practice. So thank you very much, Ndate Mangoba. Thank you very much, Ndate Swanepoel, Ndate Kunen, Ndate Kanyise. I hope I'm calling them correctly because now only the doctor, the advocate, we don't know, you know. So if that is the case, you will advise us as such. So let's step off the word. But I know you're going to remain because we're going to call Ndate Makavolo Day. Where isn't Ndate Makavolo? Yeah, we have a problem, Rona, but we are so Ndate Makavolo is not here, Javulan. He also raised a similar petition about the demand for the building of a school in Tsakane. Oh, they are saying he's still on the way. He's still on the way. So what do we do? So we're going to skip this one. Unfortunately, we would have to await Ndate Makavolo. We'll just give him an hour. If he's not here in an hour, we might as well release you. Because we had said we were going to start at 10. It's now 12. So can you advise which one we're taking next?
It's Mr. Masemula here. Mr. Masemula.
Okay. Sebaba Masemula. La bona batho ba lona ba teng. Nna re tlile re tswa go Botswana. Nna ke tswa Mabopane. Mara bona ke fitlhetse go Ntate Sebaba pele mo. So we're also going to skip Ntate Sebaba.
You have a number 6 here. Check number 4. Check number 4 and 5. And Tate Khumula Uteng, David, Mr. Daniel Khumula.
Daniel Khumula Uteng.
Mr. Lwandile Mbodla.
Yeah, because we will not be able to deal with the petitions of people who are not here.
Mr. Eric Matlangu, encroachment etwatwa.
Etlamopele, my brother. Ndate Mangoba, it's okay. We can excuse you. No? I get one the petitions are not very. So motoar kwala. So people write to us, again, in a form of a petition. And then we refer it to the department. The department looks into it, then they generate the report. Again. And then we engage the report. If the committee is not happy about something, they will engage or interrogate the report, as we will have done. and then we come up with a way forward around how that issue is going to be resolved. But like I will have told you, there are other things that takes a bit of time to be resolved, simply because of their nature. Again, I'm sure you are aware, we are no longer building schools. Staff room tse pedi fela, and then block onyana tse 3 ka mo lesaeteng le 3. The department is now building schools of the future. Again, that is why one school may take over a year to be built, because it has got to have all the amenities. Tshwantse nne le di laboratory, e nne le di computer rooms, e nne le kitchen, e nne le this and that. Again, those are the schools that are being built. So it usually takes a bit of time. And that is why earlier on we said between 3 and 6 months. So, so we're dealing with Ndate Eric Mahlangu. Okay, so let's present that one. Who is from the municipality? Who's going to report from Ikurule? The encroachment one. Okay, so let's deal with that one.
Thank you, Chair. It's encroachment at Tuatua Ward 26, PP 04D0118LOHS. The petitioner is Mr. Eric Mahlangu, an adult male who resides at Tsano East Road, submitting this petition on behalf of the Committee of Barcelona at Tuatua, who alleges that their RDP houses in Ward 26 fall outside the allocated stands, which causes a lot of problems for them. He further alleges that he informed the ward councillor and the municipality about the matter, but nothing has been done to fix the matter. The petition was referred to Ekurhuleni and the Department of Human Settlement for investigation and reporting on the 5th of February 2018. A follow-up was made on the 6th of March 2018, in which we did not receive a report to that effect. We are expecting to be provided with a progress report today. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Ndate Mahlangu, that is the summary of the petition that you wrote to us. Can you confirm whether it's a true reflection?
Honorable Utswalo, it's true.
You are confirming?
Yes, I'm confirming that.
Thank you very much. Okay. Aretse, who is responding from the municipality? Ndadaratum. You are now in Ikurhuleni? Okay. Before?
I was working in Tshwane. I used to work in Tshwane.
Yeah, I know, man. So that is why I'm... Okay.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members of the committee, Chairperson of the Petitions Committee, Ekurhuleni, as well as the Ward Councillor. My name is Bradley Ratombo. I'm the divisional head responsible for community services and relationship management. With me here, I've got 2 colleagues. Let me start on my right. I'm with a colleague, Me Ntswaki Matlou. She's a city planner. And then on my left, I have Me Nonkululeko Matsoso. She's from the Gauteng Human Settlements Department. So I will deal with the first issue with regard to the petition, which says the city is not doing anything. I wish to confirm here, Chair, that the city has communicated with the city planning department, and then the overall report as to the feedback will be provided by Mayor Matsoso. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson, and the members, and also the people that are here. I would start by saying the department is very much aware of the encroachments in the area, and the
Can I get Mema?
Okay. My apologies, Honorable. My name is Nonkululeko Matsuso from the Department of Human Settlement in the province.
Sure.
Thank you. I wanted to say the department is very much aware of the problem that Mr. Mahlangu is alluded to, which is the encroachments. However, there has been some communication that has been happening between the city and the province to resolve the issue. Initially, the project was meant to be to allocate 5,033 beneficiaries. And unfortunately, because of the outcry from the community to say the stands were very small, the general plan that was approved at that time had to be revised.
Just hold on, Matsos. Sorry to. I don't think we have the correct report, do we? Eh? Is this the correct report? Yeah, this is not the correct report. I can really reveal a report on Matsos.
We have submitted the report.
Yeah, so this one which is being flagged is not the correct one. And I don't want us to confuse people. Because people are reading through something which is not related to what you are stating. Where's the report? We need the actual report. Yeah, maybe you can draw it from Mema Matsosa if she has it. Not sure whether you have it.
I do have it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
Muhammad, did you send it to him or what did you do? You sent yesterday. Do you have a copy here? Can you just copy it? Okay, let me check it.
Let's proceed because we can't take far too much time. Yeah. So, Member Mansuso, my apologies for pausing you there. So, yeah, because I really thought that was not the correct report. So, if you can proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I was just indicating that the outcry that was that came from the
report, because the report, we are going to miss it.
Okay, there was an issue with the general plan, Chairperson. Because the community was complaining about the stand sizes in the project, to say they were too small. So the general plan had to be revised to such an extent that that general plan is still in the process to be approved by Surveyor General to move from 126 square meter to 200 square meters, just to accommodate the RTP, the 40 square meter RTP house, as well as also the movement, at least a slight movement for people to move around in their space. So, City of Ekurhuleni and our development planning are in communication to make sure that that general plan now has been approved, of which is still in the process. At the moment, unfortunately, my colleague from development planning is stuck here in CCC. He's on his way here, and he was also summoned to come here so that he will actually explain how far are they with that process to appoint now the service provider to go ahead with the approving the general plan. I'll pause the Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay, so that is are we done, or is there any other input?
We are covered, Chair.
You are okay. So that Eric, that is the response that the department is giving. Would you want to engage with the report?
Slalo, yes.
Should.
The issue is not about the provincial women settlement. The issue is about the city of Ekurhuleni. It's not about the women settlement in the province. The background scenario is when sifike Barcelona to go firstly, the city said nobody will allocate him or herself in a service stand without the approval or being allocated by officials. And later on, sonke bese sizingenela because bekusuka abantu esingabazi bazothatha ama service stands. 2, Sihlalo. Ingxaki esinayo ile. If sekunenye ezo approvewa, thina abanye sesihlala kulama side amancane, abanye banalawo amakhulu. Kahle kahle, who's who in the zoo? It's because the city of Ekurhuleni has been taking us from one pillar to post. Actually, masiya siyolwa nabo the city of Ekurhuleni basitshe ukuthi indawo yethu ayikaproclaim. Indlela basibaleka ngayo. But mind you, sine park, sine skolo, sinani. Kodwa ama service stands awalingani. Ekubangele ukuthi size city kwi human settlement in the province. You can't build izindlu la iyangena la ayingeni because indawo azilingani. And the city of Ekurhuleni has been saying sizohlala nani. I want to register this. It's not about the human settlement in the province. It's about the city of Ekurhuleni. Ekuyiyo esfaile until to date. Sinamajarita ngalingani because of the city of Ekurhuleni. And now sihleli nje mina ngeke ngifuna ukuhlala esayidini elincane umakhelwane abe nelikhulu. Ekubeni mistake yenzwa yini? The city of Ekurhuleni wabafaka amaphini. Each and every mabavuke bacabanga okunye bakokotela iphini. Bavuka bacabanga okunye bakokotela iphini. We ended up saying you are also misusing the state funds because ngicasha ama contract lokafaka amaphini now and then. Kodwa indawo zethu azilingani. So the city need to account. Babe neqiniso. It's not about the province.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Members, do you want to possibly engage with the report? No, it's okay. Maybe let's take your comments first and then the department will also respond. You are okay? Are you okay? Okay. So members seems to be okay. What I wanted to understand, because the petition says, and I had the explanation about the initial stand size, and of course when a complaint was raised, you went back. Come again? Oh, you went back to apply, reapply yourselves to it, and there's now a process that you are undertaking to correct. But obviously when you correct, you may not necessarily correct on those stands. It would have to be a different set of stands. And of course you sort of enlist the number of beneficiaries. And I suppose the beneficiaries would in the main be people that might have possibly been affected, including other applicants that might have been approved. The issue about these stands, and then there was something about them falling outside. So this area, extension 34, is in what, 26?
Yes,
26.
Yes.
So when you said something about them now falling outside of the RDP houses, we couldn't quite understand that part.
Okay, Chair. It's unfortunate because I arrived in the morning. I was supposed to bring an aerial viewing of the RDP houses. That the aerial viewing has cut an RDP into two. You find the kitchen, a dining room and the kitchen is on another stand. The bathroom and bedrooms are on another stand. It's a true reflection of an aerial viewing that we have a copy of it.
So there's an overextension, overlap of a certain parts of the house into another dwelling, into another stand.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. But isn't it that what the department is seeking to correct? By allocating or resizing the stands in another site that they will have identified. Are they not correcting it?
It's not gonna be corrected, Chair. honest, it's not going to be reconnected. Because the issue here, Chair, is that in once you ngamuka phakathi ithatha ERFI 2, once you ngamuka phakathi ina 2 stands, how are you going to build that person? That's number one. Number two, the person ozongena next door uzozithola nejardin ngani because lo overlap ejardin lakhe. And the more uthi uyayilungisa, uzo end up umuntu osekhoneni ahlala phakathi kwestrati, then mazofaka iskontiri anyeke sangena because izindlu zi overlappele to each strat. Then that's also a big challenge. That's a big challenge. It's actually, we said even before to the city, come, let's sit down so that you can be able to see. But they always talk, they said, no, we see this on an aerial viewing. In an actual fact, the city doesn't want to come and see the reality of what we are saying. Then they'll be able to say, when they respond, we are going to say, no, we are cities. But they'll always call you and say, no, we are dealing with that over the phone, over a computer, and it's non-practical, that one.
Okay. I want us to simplify it. That the bridge, because this is what seems to be more of the issue, the implication of the current construct of the area location, which is not necessarily as per what that the Eric is raising, an ideal situation, and hence they are calling for somewhat of a redress, you know. Safe to say, you may not necessarily be able to correct that defect, because it's a structural one. You can't transplant those houses or wish them away. You are not going to be able to do that. So what I thought I had earlier was that in the alternative, you have identified another portion to sort of extend the RDP, you know, a rollout or project, so that the intent becomes to correct. I'm not sure whether I will have heard it well, but that could have been my interpretation. So maybe let's simplify it without necessarily being technical, so that everybody who's here, possibly coming from Extension 34 in Barcelona, we will understand it as such. Where did we start? Where are we? And have we, the other thing I would have wanted to ask is whether we're interacting. Is the municipality interacting with the residents or the beneficiaries of that area? Because now going it helps. You may not even find that people raise any hues or cries when they are actively engaged. But when there's a lack of you know, communication, people assume, you know what, nothing is being done about these things. But if proactively we go on site, engage the inhabitants of that location, you will find that it sort of minimizes any misunderstandings. So, Arian Peking, just in simple layman's you know, language.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start with the issue here, communication. And by the way, just for information to the petitioner, I'm from the city of Ekurhuleni. We do have project managers who are always on site. However, if there is a deficiency in terms of communication, we will commit ourselves today that the city, together with the local community there, will interact on a regular basis as and when requested by the leadership of that particular community. As the report was presented to the committee, it is clear that there is a commitment on the part of the city as well as the Gauteng Department of Human Settlements to correct the situation that is prevailing on the ground. Thank you, Chair. I have my colleague here who will also add.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Nzwaki Matlo from City Planning Department. I would just like to add on the re-layout of the township. It is possible to fix it on ground where we would need to, a surveyor general needs to be appointed and the plans get to be drawn based on what's on the ground. So it is possible to fix the challenge that they have of stands being overlapping towards each other. It is possible, and
build there. Is there any dwellings?
there is dwellings, and the stands are overlapping towards each other. But what needs to be done going forward, and I believe province is on it, they're currently trying to appoint service providers to assist with that, where they would need to redraw the SG diagram for that township based on what exactly is on the ground, so that each house can have its own stand and not overlap. So it is possible to do it, and I believe they are working on it. Thank you.
So if it's something which can be corrected, we shouldn't have a problem as such. So how long? What is the process? Maybe let's talk about the process.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. My colleague is right here now. Maybe he can give the proper response to that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Apologies for arriving late. I'm Simon Musole from Gauteng Department of Finance. Okay, I think I'm audible now. I'm Simon Musole from Gauteng Department of Human Settlements. Under the Development Planning Unit, I'm a town planner responsible for a Twatwa project. Currently, the status where we are awaiting for appointment of service provider to undertake. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. No, thank you, Chair. Apologies about that. I was saying we are currently awaiting for the appointment of service provider. The process is with our supply chain. The main intent of the appointments is for the township to undergo the formalization progress or program where then the service provider will be required to complete all town planning milestones within the township for the processes of issuance of title deeds. I must indicate, as my colleague from the city has indicated, that the characteristics that characterize the township currently with regards to the layout of the township and the general plan encroachments, those are the main milestones that have been earmarked for the PRT to undertake, because the township can't be registered in the state that is currently at its office. It needs to be relayed first from a layout point of view to the approval of the general plan, so that the township can be proclaimed and the beneficiaries can receive their title deeds. Yeah, that's where we are currently. Thank you.
No, I hear you. The only thing that I'm worried about, and that is why I was asking you about the process. I get it when you plan, so you have identified what the problem is. You now go back to the drawing table. You say, here is a problem. We're going to fix it. Okay? So you map out a process, and it has got timelines. So one of the things that we should commend you on doing is that of the appointment. Have you appointed the service provider, or they are yet to be appointed?
They are yet to be appointed. There were delays, Chair, from...
They are yet to be appointed.
They are yet to be appointed, hence we don't have a program.
We want to know that listen, when are they going to be appointed? When are they going to commence? How long will it take? You see? So you must give us a process timeline. That is what we would want to know. Because surely nobody plans for something where they don't have an end, goal to when it would be achieved. So that is what we want to know. So then that Ricky Atzamaya with the assurance, or this thing would be commenced within a week, 2 months, 6 months. You should be able to be, certain about your execution. Do we have a sense of the process and timeline?
With regard to the exact appointment date, Chair, we don't have that in.
Yeah, because when you say we are waiting a service provider, until when are you waiting?
Is the supply chain processes, they are beyond my control, those ones.
So you don't control that variable.
I wait for them to give me the service provider.
Okay. So ndate Bradley, where the concern. So the department, or rather the city, has identified a problem and it knows what has to be done. You see? But we are just lacking particularity on when that would be addressed. And our anxiety is always one, you know. Our anxiety is one. When you don't deal with a situation with the immediacy of the problem or the nature of the problem is, you find that there might be other things that comes up that might compound this problem. You see, other people may, somebody may decide, all right, now in a stand I'm giving, I'm extending. You know that can be a problem. You see, then there are other issues that are going to surface. Well, I'm not sure whether those have been fitted, or you don't have do you have a bulk infrastructure there? Because you are saying the township has not, the area is not proclaimed. Do you have a bulk infrastructure?
Yes, it's a safe stand. They have toilet,
those
water,
are
and
safe
everything.
stands. So there might be these discrepancies around the meters because there are all these pipes that flow. And when there's an overlap, it might give rise to those challenges. So we just want to now know what is the process timeline. Do we have a set turnaround time in mind or inside? Is there, because you will have planned for it either way, you know, so that we don't leave it to some uncertain future time. But surely it would give comfort to that area and other residents go Barcelona, right? At least the municipality says possibly within the next 4 or 5 months, we might start to see some movement. You know? So we're not necessarily saying the end, but just the commencement of something. It would have also assisted in that day, Simon, if we were saying we have appointed service providers, they are going to start in the next month or 2. It would have been something. But when we say, hey, we don't know because it's supply chain, isn't it that the department, the municipality must interact with all relevant divisions? Because you can't insulate yourself and say supply chain. And unfortunately, we don't have anybody from supply chain here to answer. So surely there must be somewhat of a interoperability, cooperation, internal cooperation within the various structures or units of the municipality, so that no one passes the bar. Because to us, the sounding, when you say, supply chain, it sounds like we're passing the bag. We're not accepting accountability. It is, after all, your project. You see? So when you submit, I get the submissions. You write memos, they are signed off, they run, I know, bureaucracy. When did we start? Maybe let's ask, when did we start to make submissions? Have we done that? Have they been approved? So that is what we are trying to establish. Have we started the process? Is it now with supply chain? When are they going out on tender?
Thank you, Chair. The process is currently at BEC for I think it's selection of members for the panel of 4 appointments. I'm saying the process is currently at BEC for the appointment of members of that BEC to undertake the appointments.
The specs have been developed.
Yes,
for the
even the
appointment
terms
of
of reference, everything has been done. It's been packaged.
And So the appointment of BC members are ordinarily it's like a city manager. But again, not even city manager, head of a supply chain to constitute it's not something that takes over a month. You see? So maybe that is what you may want to do. You may want to go back, ascertain all these material facts for us. Okay? And then we update in that masham. Because seemingly you also are not sure. So we don't want to fudge the issues. So if we are not sure, we must just say, hey, you know what? We are not sure, but we can still find out. Okay? And then we package a report, we share with the petitioner. So your issue, it seems as if it's being attended to. Ne? But we lack the actual details around the timelines. And it might not be satisfactory. You see? Because remember that the Mashangu will have to feed back to the community of Extension 34, right? Through the Petitions Committee, and this is what they are saying. And these are the time frames. You see? So maybe if we can do that, do you think it's doable? That Bradley, I agree with you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. It's doable. As soon as the issue has been resolved by the BAC, from BAC it's going to BAC, and then once the appointment has been done, we will interact with the colleagues from the Gauteng Department of Human
We want you to give the BC a time frame. Tell them that there are pressures.
Yes.
You see? So we want our report within the next 2 weeks. A full report of the process timeline.
That's doable, Chair.
It's doable, ne?
Yes.
Why you trying that, Eric? So in the next 2 weeks, they give us a report, we share with you. Again, if you are still unhappy about something, we follow up. Yeah, Utran. You want to say something? Tajaba. Ada phrase out them. The mono gumrao. As we stay, who's mending the mics? Switch it on. Is it on? Who is assisting with the mic? Emon, ugidime, uguruzo kwa ugidima. Lartwe, yager la one. The service providers are more. Relefa mosebetsi, le tlaga di mic di sna di battery. Narralen power. Le na le mic o mo one fe. Eh? No, mic won't turn to bereke. 2 mics must work. Don't even argue it.
Chair, maybe not to do tautology or repeat and repeat everything. We partially welcome the report, and I think the one that will come to you, the detailed one, is the one that people that are having a smaller size, that even you can't even build a 2-room shack on it, but they have services of toilets and meter. We want a clear report. What are they going to do with them? Because they were approved this long time ago, but until today, they haven't yet being beneficiaries. And also some of the stands that are the addresses that are on a cloud, no one has been allocated on it. We request a detailed report. Then we can be able to say we are happy with it, but we are accepting partially this report. I thank you.
So yeah, that the Bradley agree like it. We'll do it like that. Let's just generate a comprehensive report, and maybe let's not make it too technical, just a simplified. No? But my other issue, My other issue would be, who's the ward councillor there?
I saw him here, it's Comrade Tamahawaha Matole.
Ute,
Yes, I saw him.
mo councillor go kae? Okay, thank you very much. So, emela yana mo councillor. Kenya gore o tse di number tsa ntate Bradley. Direct cell number. Ne? Lena o mo fetsa hao. Lo bolela wena le ntate Bradley. To follow up on this report and other issues. I get so that you feed back to the entirety of the affected residents, because there are other issues that are surfacing. I get so Kenya gore is a gore managers a nna le botlhaso. So o tlo buisana le ntate Bradley drive this process. I get for us. So we'll do it like that. Yeah, we'll do it like ntate Bradley so that we can also relay whichever other additional information, and then we'll manage it like that. So ntate Eric yeah, we'll follow up and then give you that status report. So thank you very much for that. Can we? Which one are we taking? Ntate Makafolo there. Oh, Ntate Makafolo. Okay. So it seems as if Ntate Swanepoel, Ntate Kunen, and Kanyisile are coming back. So Ntate Makafolo are kopalere join le mo tafoleng e. So let's quickly take this one. Thank you very much, Ntate Makafolo.
Thanks, Chair. The second one is building of a school, Tsakani, Ward 84, PP28B, 0817ED. The petitioner is Mr. Jabulan Makafula, an adult male who resides at Lulu Street, Tsakani, who alleges that there is no primary school in Ward 84, and as a result, their children must walk a long distance to get to school. The petitioner also alleges that they must resort to sending their children to neighboring schools, which is not ideal for the children. Furthermore, he alleges that he informed the ward councillor about the matter, but did not receive a response. Chair, the petition was before the committee for consideration. It was then adopted. Subsequent to that, referred to the Department of Education for responses. Thanks, Chair.
Dr. Makafula, that is the summary of your petition. Can you confirm whether the contents thereof are accurate?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Everything is correct there. That is
Everything is okay?
Yes, sir.
That is Swanepoel. So it's a similar one. It's the issue around the school. Can you give us a report on that one?
Yes, I can.
But why are we not winning? Why are we not winning? Why are we struggling to get petitioners? So we must be cartoon here. But where are they? Are we calling them? I mean, why in it? Can we find
No, I briefed the chair.
Why are we not finding them?
They're here.
Kumbisa legislation. Yeah, why don't you get Kumbisa and go and fetch those people? So let's say we must collapse the hearing. We must say it's over after this petition. No, man.
This is what I've done subsequent to online. I wrote this because I feel somehow that officer we need to resolve. These are the very same issues that I deposited in that meeting when I requested us to remain behind and discuss with you. This is the email. I just wrote it now. Because honestly speaking, we can't be working like this.
Wait, it makes us look at
And what you lamented about time and again, will always time and again, Jenna, because this is some of the things we send out the pickup points and documents everything was sent to it.
Okay, Mr. Swanepoel, let's have you. Okay. The report. Can we settle down so that we listen to the report?
Thank you, Chair. And good afternoon to Mr. Makafole. We, within Ward 84 that the petitioner raised, there is in fact a primary school, an existing primary school, called Sizuzile Primary School. It is a full mobile school.
Struggling to hear you, that is Swanepoel.
Apologies?
Was struggling to hear you.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying within Ward 84, there is an existing primary school called Sizuzile. Now, unfortunately, this is also one of the instances that has taken quite a long time to resolve. The department has issued the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development with a brief to replace the mobile school with a full brick and mortar school in 2015. They did go to the procurement process at that stage. A contractor was awarded the contract. Unfortunately, before the construction could really start in earnest, there was a legal matter that had to be resolved. It was taken to court, and unfortunately, the contract was then declared null and void, and they were not able to proceed at that stage. The process has now recommenced. They are busy with the contracting documentation. It was also at the point of being awarded. It also unfortunately had some delays again because of the National Treasury moratorium. But it is currently with the BAC of the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development for advertisement. So we are expecting the school to be tendered in the next month or two as well. So there is a plan in the works for a replacement school of Sizuzile Primary School on the same site, which is in Ward 84. So we have met with the petitioner early in the year to double check the understanding of the department and the situation on the ground. It is a challenging area overall, but from basically due to the increase of enrollment numbers over the time period from 2015 until now, the department has last year already increased the scope of works for Sizuzile Primary School. So where it previously would have been a 28...
You saying that school is
Sizuzile.
Sizuzile.
Apologies, my pronouncement is not...
No, don't worry, you are like me, and then I just wanted to be sure. Sizuzile. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So previously it would have been a 28 classroom school. Because of the increased enrollment number, it will now be a 35 classroom school. So it's quite a big school for a primary school. But in terms of the need in the area, it will be addressed through the additional classrooms rather than the building of an additional new primary school. We have met with the petitioner, like I mentioned earlier in the year, to double check the understanding. The Sizuzile Primary School is approximately 3 kilometers away from the petitioner's house. So unfortunately, in terms of the scholar transport policy as well, we are bound by the policy of for areas greater than 5 kilometers, transport will be provided. So yes, unfortunately, from the department side, we are bound to provide infrastructure in the areas of the greatest need. And at this point in time, in Ward 84, the need that is there will be addressed by the replacement of Sizuzile Primary School. Chair, maybe if I can just add on that, it is a challenge. You know, the backlog of mobile schools that we have to replace. We can't really, some of these mobile schools have been in existence for more than 10 years. And you know, a mobile school is supposed to be a temporary thing. It's not supposed to be a long-term situation. So from the focus and the priority from the department side is then the replacement of Sizuzile. And then as needs change, absolutely, if there is in the future a bigger need for a school in the area, we will then address it at that stage, as I mentioned on the annual planning processes that we go through. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Who names this school? Is it the SGPs?
That's correct.
What is Sizuzile? What does it mean?
We have gained.
Yeah?
We have gained. It's gained, Chair.
Oh, we have gained. Oh. Sizuzile. All right. No, I just wanted to know what it meant, you know. But I think we really need to come up with a way of naming our schools. You know, surely there can be a better way of naming our schools. You can imagine when a child has to go to. It could be in Europe, it could be in Asia, it could be in the States, and they check there. I think we must name our schools better. In our communities, we have got leaders. You can name a school after a leader, you know, an identifiable leader. South Africa has got a pool of those. But that's beside the point. So, Ndate Makafula, that is the report from the department. I'm not sure whether you followed. They are saying, well, there is that school, they just want to augment. There may not necessarily be a need to build another school. And they also did their own assessment. And they benchmarked against where you stay and measured the distance of the school, which they say is about 3 Ks. You see? So I'm not sure whether you have got a response to the department.
Khona sike sakhuluma sisonke le department na. Savumelana. Isizuzile is on the western side. Yala ngihlala khona. So nami i-petition yami is not all about ukuthi ngenzele ukuthi mina ngibheke mina la ngihlala khona. There are other areas, ama neighboring wards, which is Ward 86. Abantwana bakhona bayasokola. Isikolo sikude. Le abayibizayo is 3.5 kilometers, which is far. It can take you up to 45 minutes ukuthi ufike lapho uma umntana omncane. So abantwana abaningi lapha ewodini yethu yebo bakhona basebenzisa ezinye izikolo kwamanye amawodi. So thina into besicela epetition ukuthi besicelela nje ukuthi basondezele isikolo esiseduze ewodini yethu esothi umntwana noma hambe 1.5 kilometers.
So distance-wise, what is the most furthest school from where you, well, maybe you said because not Jew, the centrality of the ward, what is the most furthest?
Sikhona isikole bathi ivuyane mabasho bona according to their statistics data, but it's not full and it's a closer school so sebafake nesizulu. So mawuyabheka many students lapha basebenzisa another ward schools.
So you have got a problem with learners going to schools in other wards?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. So you would want that there be a set of schools in your ward?
Yes.
But the distance, is it reasonable? Even if they are on other wards?
No, even...
Are we talking a distance exceeding 5 kilometers?
No, not exceeding.
So within?
Yeah, it's within 5 kilometers.
Yeah, so let me tell you, my brother, how government policy works. Schools are not built per ward. They are built along the lines of accessibility. You see, radius, if you will. So it might happen that at the border of a ward 84, there's a school. But it doesn't mean this school belongs to that ward or that ward council. Even the aligning or adjoining ward can still be able to utilize that school. So the government policy doesn't say we build schools for specific wards. Otherwise, you can almost imagine. In Gauteng, we have got in excess of 600 wards in Gauteng. You can imagine if the approach would have been, let's build schools for every single ward. And by the way, not even a single school can cover one ward. So you might need 5, and you have got a category of a primary, secondary. So one ward, if you were to go with that approach, may need essentially about 5 schools. Now, multiply that against the 600, can I get how many that we have, Mabun? 520? 529 wards. You can imagine. Is it? So long as it's within the 5 kilometer radius, it is deemed reasonable. If it was in excess of the 5 kilometer radius, scholar transport kicks in. You see? So they are saying, well, we recognize that in that school we have gained. There might be an influx. How do you remedy the situation? And so the department says, we're looking at, extending it through, is it mobile classrooms?
It's currently a mobile school, but we are building brick and mortar classrooms.
So they are going to commit to another, brick and mortar arrangement, which is really just the reasonable. And the reason why I was saying that, we analyze, we adjudicate petitions, and we look at what is reasonable. You see? So when the department says, well, we know the problem, we are going to roll out a physical, structure to address the situation where there's an overcrowding in a school. It makes all sense. It becomes logical. But when we say we want the school to be built, because if we go with the logic, our schools must be built per wards. every single ward councillor is going to rise and say, I also want my set of schools in my wards. And the problem is chelete. You know, everything that is done sounds in money. And you know, when you read through the Constitution, it says everything happens subject to the availability of resources. Does the government have resources to build schools specifically for what? You already know the answer. It's a resounding no. And so schools are spread out according to the needs that are there of the people residing in those areas. It does not look at the wards. So the schooling community is not ward-based. Not sure whether you follow that. The schooling community is not ward-based. Because if that was the case, it would then mean only learners who are staying in a particular ward attend a particular school, which is not necessarily the case. That is why the MEC of Education says you can even go to Santain when you are staying in Tsakan and go and attend a school there. Again, you can go to Niger and attend a school in Niger, even when you are from Tsakan. You can go and attend the school in Danata or Al Rapag, even when you are from Dudusa. Because the schooling community is not restricted to the demarcation of the wards. So, unless if there was a greater demand or pressure, then we would say to the department, hey, go back to your drawing books. Yeah, there's an issue. But if it's within the 5-kilometer radius, it's reasonable.
Yes, I understand, because this is the feedback of what we have discussed. So everything is covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you understand it like. Yeah. So so we're not necessarily going to follow up on this one. Yeah. So we're going to close this one unless in some future time there might be a demand, you know. And obviously that would have to be substantiated. So we're going to close off at this one. So thank you very much, Ndate Makavul. Again, thank you very much, Ndate Swanepul, and Ndate Swanepul and Ndate Kunene Kangisi. Agalele wala.
Thank you, Chair.
Agalele wala again. But we must applaud Ndate Makavola because he took the initiative. Yeah, I think there's a pressure in an area where I stay. Instead of making noise all over, he took an initiative of writing a petition. Again, let's give Ndate Makavola a round of applause. These are the activists that we need in our communities. Again, people who worry about the welfare of their own communities. This is what we must appreciate. So thank you very much, Ndate Makavola. Come on. They are here. Okay, so let's take the next one. Let's take the next one.
Thank you, Chair. Service delivery Barcelona. I've been informed that the ward councillor will stand in on behalf of Ntate Robert Nkumane. May I request the ward councillor from Extension 34 to come and stand in on behalf of Ntate Robert Nkumane. Chair, the petitions relates to service delivery Barcelona Davidton, Extension 34. The petitioner is Mr. Robert Nkumane on behalf of the community. Maybe prior to that, may I check with the responding authority in this regard, that is City Ekurhuleni, who is going to provide a report. representatives from Ekurhuleni. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
The petitioner is Mr. Robert Nkumane on behalf of the Committee of Extension 34, who alleges that their area is an informal settlement and has been living there for the past 20 years with no basic services. There are no running water, electricity, and with no proper sanitation. A number of memorandums were handed to the Office of the Executive Mayor. However, they have not been getting any positive responses. Chair, the petition was before the committee for consideration. It was then adopted and subsequent to that referred to City of Ekurhuleni on the 9th of April 2015. It was further tabled on the hearing on 12 June 2015 in Tembisa, wherein the MMC Obringumalo for housing has requested 2 weeks to scan and conduct oversight for water taps allocation, requested the committee to agree on chemical toilets for in the interim. The geotech, okay. Chair, as it stands currently, we are waiting for a progress report. Thank you, Chair.
All right, so, Councillor Rote. Can I come, Councillor Rama?
Tamahawa matole matole.
Oh, wakubo matole. Matole motshega. Okay. Arale wanda de tamag. So petition can I get ma? Yeah, ndate Nkumane na tshwantse be le re o tlile mo. So that when we deal with this petition, Evelore is also here, but unfortunately he's not here, which creates a bit of a challenge for us. But we're happy because you are able to stand in for him. You see, you are the kind of councillor that we need. You see, councillors who are available to stand in on behalf of their own constituencies, so we truly appreciate. So I'm not sure whether you are familiar with the issues that have been raised here, and you could confirm whether indeed it's true.
Yes, I am familiar with the contents of the petition, and I'm quite aware of what's happening in the area. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thanks. So Ndate Matole is confirming that is also quite familiar with the issues coming out of this petition. Who is responding? Okay, go ahead and that Brent. You guys are busy. Okay, assist us there.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, committee members, Chairperson of the Petitions Committee, City of Ekurhuleni. The issue here, Chairperson, is the same issue that was discussed during the previous petition hearing regarding extension Ward 34. Now, the petitioner is complaining about the lack of provision for basic services. I am confirming here now that the city is providing chemical toilets. The city is also providing water in the form of communal standpipes. And then the city is also doing refuse collection in the area, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's an update in terms of what the department is providing. Just wanted to check whether that's correct, whether you agree, if there's anything else that you want to say, Councillor.
Yes, I do agree. I think I just need to highlight to the committee maybe why the resident also raised this matter. We have pockets of informal settlements in Ward 26. And maybe let me also highlight that we do have 90+% of the entire ward that's not proclaimed. And with an influx of more people coming into the city or into Ekurhuleni, we also got a lot of people coming in and therefore settling in informal settlements. It is true that we do have chemical toilets in the area. It is true that we do also have people who have been approved to get formal housing, who are still residing in this informal space. So most probably the petitioner is one of those people who would have really preferred that by this time, and correctly so after 20 years, be on a well-serviced site with a built house. So that is the situation as it stands today in the space. We continue to have such kind of challenges, and I would not even be shocked if there could be any other extra petition that might still be lingering somewhere in the shelves, and which might come tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Members, you've heard what the petition was about. Obviously, the petitioner is not here. The municipality has given us a brief of some of the interventions that are made. Councillor has indicated that despite that, there's still a serious backlog in the provision of services in the area. So I just want to check, members, from yourselves, if there's any comments or any inputs you would want to make based on what we've heard here now. Members? Okay, I see no hands from members. Perhaps then we may want to not just leave this matter as it stands, because obviously the petitioner has raised a petition that raises concerns about service delivery in the area. If members agree, maybe I would want to suggest that we ask the municipality to give us a plan for that area, to indicate to us what are the plans that they are looking at going forward, so that we don't just leave it where it stands. Members, would that be all right? Would you agree with that?
I agree, Chair.
Okay, so what I think we need to do, as before we close off on this petition, whilst we would welcome measures that have been put in place, but we're also hearing that this area has been in existence for a long time, and that people are continuously moving into the area as well, and that there's a need for more interventions. Can we ask then the municipality to give us a report and to indicate to us the clear plans and timeframes in terms of interventions that will be made in the area, that would be addressing the concerns raised by the petitioner and also touching on some of the matters that we've heard from the ward councillor as well. I think we'd have to give a time frame, but I'm not sure the time frame that we can give, but probably, let's say in the next month, if we could get some indication as to what are the plans for the area, so that we can monitor as well, because we don't want to just put this petition aside and say everything's done. We want to be able to monitor. So I think a month is fair. You've had this petition for a while. It's not as if you've received this petition today. So I think to the committee section, we need to get a report within a month that gives us an outline of further plans with timeframes of the interventions that will be made in that area. Would you find that acceptable, Councillor?
Very convenient.
All right. So that brings us to the finalization of this petition. The committee section will engage with a team from Ekurhuleni to ensure that within a month we receive an update as to further plans and interventions that will be made in the area. So I think on that note, is there another petition that we can do? Thank you very much, Councillor. You want a parting shot from you?
Yeah, Chair, may I also request, I'm sure you are quite aware that we have had about 3, if not 4 petitions that were heard from the same ward today. may I also request that formally, so that I also get records of what are the plans with regard to all these relevant departments. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm sure no, that's fine. I'm sure the municipality will be able to update with you with the plans that they've raised earlier when you were not here, but we'll also ask the committee section just to help you with some of the recordings of the interactions that have taken place. But what we would ask is that the officials here who've been interacting with us need to update you as well. I think that would be fair, but we can also assist from the committee side. So on that note, Councillor, thank you very much for agreeing to stand in and to come and to represent the petitioner. We appreciate that. Thank you to the officials. Chairperson, can I hand back to you? We've finished with this petition.
Okay. So thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much for that one. I think I'll get an update on it. So we want to propose, there's a bit of a challenge. We have so far dealt with how many? We have so far dealt with 4 petitions. But then there's an issue that the remaining 6 petitions, all the petitioners are not here. So all the petitioners of the remaining 6 petitions, they are not here.